Okay, so we're going to look at a technique called layer parenting, which enables you to connect the different body parts in a hierarchy that kind of mimics more like the way the human body moves. So for example, if you connect to the upper arm and lower arm, if you move the upper arm, it also moves the lower arm with it. So I'm just going to give you a little example of how this enables us to kind of articulate and animate the different joints of the body more effectively. So this is what we're going to aim to end up with. There we go. So basically we're going to do a walk animation. Obviously this has applications to all the different types of movement. Okay, and you can see the body's more articulated, there are more joints. Now we've got joints at the knees and the elbows, the neck, the pelvis. Alright, so the first part of the layer parenting is to create your character, and it's important really to spend a bit of time because this character is basically going to be your puppet that you can then animate and use throughout your animation. So it's important really to get this first bit right and spend a bit of time on it. So you can see here I've created, now I've actually used Illustrator here, but you can draw your character out in Illustrator, you can draw it out in Animate or Photoshop. The important thing is, if you look up here, all the body parts are on separate layers and they are clearly named. Okay, so really getting that clearly separated out onto layers, any part that's going to move independently first of all, and clearly named on the layers. Okay. Now you can see on the layer panel here I've got a layer named for each body part. So we've got quite a few, 8, 9, 10, 11 different body parts here, but it's again worth putting in all this time at the beginning, so the animation later will be that much more effective. And obviously this puppet then you will have as a kind of actor really that can then be used throughout your animation. So you see I've used this naming system here, so UR arm is upper right arm, LR arm is lower right arm. So as long as you've got a naming system that makes sense to you, obviously you're dealing with quite a lot of layers, so giving them obvious literal names. The other thing then is arranging them, so putting them together to make a complete character, so starting to bring them together. Now what you might find is so this is this is his right arms, the character's right arms. This needs to be behind the body. So what I need to do there is obviously just rearrange the layers. So if I go to upper right arm, drag that below the body, and then lower right arm here as well. I need to drag that down below the body and like that. And now if I move the two of them, you'll see that they move behind the body. But not behind the pelvis, so again I need to move the pelvis above them. So there's just a question now of really organising the body parts into one body and then arranging the layer order so it makes sense. So just spend a bit of time doing that. Okay, so you can see I've arranged these now. I've kept the right arm just separate at the moment because that's we'll move back behind the body in a sec. I've rearranged my layer order a bit, so everything's in the right order, the right stacking order. So now what we want to do is we need to select each part, select the transform tool, and again this is the central transform point. If we move that up to the point that we want the body part to rotate around. Okay, so just do that to set that up initially for each part. So for example, you might think with the head, really the rotation point is the neck, the pelvis again, sort of where it joins the body, and the body is probably, if we take that up to the neck, and so on. So if you just arrange those so you're happy with those. Okay, so I've arranged the body parts now. I've just put the arm, the right arm, so it's still visible. What you can do, if you want to put the right arm so it's not visible, you can always just show and hide the body if you want to, when you want to move the right arm. So that's okay. So the next thing is we want to create a movie clip and put all this work inside it. So we go to the library, click on the plus sign, the new symbol sign. We're going to call it character So we've got a new empty movie clip here inside the library. We now go back to our main timeline. We're just going to take all these layers, so shift click at the top, shift click at the bottom, right click, cut layers, and we're now going to go back over to the library, double click on our empty character movie clip here, and then if you right click on the default layer 1 here inside the character movie clip, right click and paste layers, and that will paste all our layers inside there. You can select the default layer 1 and delete that, we don't need that now. And if you zoom out, so hold down control and mouse wheel out, you should see your character in there. It might not be pasted into the centre, so if it isn't, just select the whole thing by dragging a selection around it and move it so this cross here, this is the centre of the movie clip, is in the centre of your character. Alright, so now we move on to the actual layer parenting, which is basically assigning a hierarchy to the different body parts using a parent-child system. Okay, so if we think about how the body is connected up, so I'm going to start with if we start with the lower left arm, for example, that is a child that is connected to the upper left arm. So to connect these together, you see this little symbol here at the top of the layer panel, the show parenting view. If you click on that, that will expand the layer view a bit, and then you see these empty portions here of the layer. So if I click on this empty portion here for lower left arm, drag that up, and I'm going to parent that with upper left arm. Yeah, and you can see they're now wired together. Now upper left arm I want to parent to body. Okay, so I'm going to again drag off from that to the body, and you can see now they're connected together. So to just demonstrate how that works, so if I now want to move the upper arm using the transform tool, you see it moves the lower arm at the same time. Yeah. Likewise, if I wanted to move the body, it would move the arm with it. Yeah. So they're all now connected together in a hierarchy. So if we now continue to do that with the rest of the body, so we can go to the pelvis and we can connect that, wire that up to the body, and then we can go to the upper left leg and wire that to the pelvis, lower left leg to the upper left leg, and so on. Yeah. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So if you just wire up your puppet in the way that you think is the most suitable. Okay, so I've wired up the puppet now. Now you'll see that everything is wired into the body. So if I was to rotate the body, you see everything now rotates with it. Okay, and again, so if we just have a look at the leg here, for example, so if I want to move the upper left leg, that will take the lower right leg with it, because the lower left leg, should I say, is a child of the upper left leg. Yeah, the upper left leg parent, lower left leg child. So again, I can click on the lower left leg and move that still independently, as long as I select it. Again, the pelvis is wired to the upper left leg and the lower left leg, so if I select the pelvis and move that, and the right legs as well, both legs, so if I move the pelvis, it will move both legs. So I hope that makes sense. You can see how they're all sort of wired together now in a hierarchy. Okay, and now inside the character movie clip, ready really for the bit that requires the kind of artistry really, which is the animation now. So I'm going to just put in extend to, I don't know, about 7 or 8, click, hold down shift and click on the whole column to select all the layers, press F5, sorry, I meant to press F6 there, so just select again and press F6, and then on the second layer now we can begin the animation process. So it really is a question of getting really into the sense of how things move now, and testing your animation until you're happy with it. I'm not going to do anything too elaborate because it'd take too long, but just to start off the process. So to begin the walk cycle, obviously you can start moving the legs in the sort of appropriate position. So what I tend to do is move the upper leg and upper arm first to get them in roughly the right position. And obviously with a walk or a run, the opposite, the left arm corresponds with the right leg and the right arm corresponds with the left leg. So there we go, so that's general position. Then you can start to tweak the lower parts of the limbs. So really with fine proper, you know, animation here, the devil is in the detail. So it's then, you know, thinking about how the head might move as well. Okay, so we've started now to animate him, and again I can start to build that up now. Shift click, put in the next keyframes, and you might want to use onion skin as well, might help. So we turn on onion skin and then we can see what the previous where he was on the previous frame. Actually, we'll just take that to there. Okay, and we can really start to build up the animation in that way. The other thing you can do here is you can place classic tweens as well. So again, I can drop in classic tweens in between these keyframes. So if I just want to really select the whole lot, so if I select top left hand corner here, hold down shift and click the bottom right hand corner, I can now just right click and add a classic tween, and that will smooth out some of the motion. So you see that, you should hopefully see that that will smooth out the motion between those first two keyframes a bit. Yeah, it just makes them more gradual. Okay, and then it's a question of building up the animation. And again, we're kind of using some techniques we've used previously. So remember, all this is inside the movie clip. If we go back out the movie clip up here, now remember, if I go over to the library here, all that animation is inside this character movie clip, so I need to drag that onto the main timeline now, onto scene 1. Okay, double click on him and you see it's all still there. So we go back to scene 1, and again this will be familiar. If I say, I don't know, if we go to, let me just zoom out a bit on the timeline. So we say go to about 7 seconds, press F5, right click, motion tween, again move the playhead to the first keyframe, move him off to the right, move the playhead to the last frame, and then move him off to the left. This should be pretty familiar now, this kind of use of motion tween. And then I can test that out. I mean, it's not going to be a finished walk at the moment, it's just going to be roughly done because I'd only just started doing it, but you can see we've got something starting to take shape. And then really with sort of animation now, it's a question of fine tuning, going back inside. We can add as many frames as we want in here. We can test in here as well. So if I turn on the loop playback button here, again move the markers, press play here, I can test that movement inside inside here, and it'll play on the loop. And then I can start to just tweak and really get into the process then of really animating and making those, fine-tuning those movements. Okay, so that is how layer parenting works. Just a final word actually, I would suggest what might help you with the walk cycle animation is to use a guide. Now you can find this online. I'll make it available as well, but this is a kind of 5-stage classic walk cycle, so it might be useful to import an image like this and use this as a guide. It can just help to have this as a reference for as you start to pose your character. Okay, so just to add that in.